show up during the day, I suppose. Good evening and welcome to the Hockomock Film Festival presents The Film Connection. You may remember us as formerly the Easton Film Festival, and we have expanded our scope and including now many of the South Shore communities, so we welcome all of you to our new show, The Film Connection. We're dedicated to promoting filmmaking for all ages, amateur and professional, and bringing you people who work in the industry with TV and film, sharing knowledge, expertise, behind the scenes stories, and hopefully inspiring those of you at home to pull out the cameras, enter our film festival, join us here on TV if you'd like to talk about your experiences. But we're welcoming all ages, all levels, and we hope you enjoy our new expanded organization. It is my pleasure as the host of this show to welcome our first guest, Joe Conforti, who is bringing to us today a film in progress, but also to share with you some of the challenges and delights that filmmaking presents. So, Joe, welcome to the show. It's nice to see you, and thank you very much for coming
You're welcome.
to visit with us.
Mm-hmm.
Could you tell everybody at home maybe a little bit about yourself? We don't know all the secrets yet.
Okay.
And how you came to become a filmmaker.
Well, I'm originally from Brookline. I grew up there, graduated high school in '69, spent some time in the military, in the Marine Corps. Got out, went to Northeastern, went back in the military, and flew. And then I got out, and I ironically got into screenwriting on Desert Storm, where I wrote a screenplay with a friend. We'd never written one before, but somebody in LA liked it, a gentleman named Fritz Maines, who was Clint Eastwood's partner. Mm-hmm. And he flew us out there, and I signed with his agent and thought I was going to be a millionaire, and that the film was going to sell and make me a fortune and famous, and it was never made into a movie.
Oh, I was waiting for the happy ending.
Well, the happy ending was it got me interested in screenwriting. Okay. And it really, one, I was naive, and two, to know that somebody in Hollywood of Fritz's stature, he's become a good friend since, but that somebody took it seriously and didn't say, don't quit your day job, although he did say that. He said, the writing is really good. So that kind of set the fire going. So it was a good thing.
Wow.
Would have been nicer if it sold, but.
Well, that's true. But anyway, that experience has brought you now to your current project called Out of Alignment. Mm-hmm. Okay, so tell me a little bit about that.
Out of Alignment is a comedy. Some can refer to it as dark comedy, but it's about a pilot who's living the good life. Okay. He's divorced, estranged from his son, and just having a good old time until he has a debilitating back injury on an airplane. While he's flying. He goes back to use the lavatory, and it's kind of a compromising position when he has this severe injury, and his life just goes into a comic tailspin. It just gets ridiculous. He goes from this pilot who just everything's going great in his life to a creature, and he's stuck in the house, and he's looking at a future that's bleak, and then it ends up with what we consider kind of a nice ending. So it's one man's journey into darkness, but it's a comedy.
Okay, a little semi-autobiographical?
Oh yeah, there's definitely. I did hurt my back. I had a severe back injury. Had to leave flying. I'm still out. Probably will go back, but I wrote the script in about 30 days.
Really?
And and it was the first screenplay I have ever written that actually had an ending. Generally, I'm writing towards an ending, which a lot of writing theorists will tell you have an ending, which I usually don't. I have an idea. This time I had a specific scene and an ending, and I got to write to that, and it really made the job a lot easier for me.
Wow.
So that was interesting, and I wrote it in approximately 30 days. Brought on another friend, Kenny Rogerson, who's a well-known Boston comic. Okay. And actually he's a national comic, and he added something to the script. So we kind of collaborated on it, and we ended up with Out of Alignment.
Very nice. Okay, so from the writing stage, where does the script go, basically, the screenplay go?
Well, I tried to option. I tried to sell it. I had optioned another script, a Boston police story called In Plain View to a producer in L.A.
Okay, an option means?
Well, they take the rights to the script for a period of time, and
Okay.
they pay you so much money to have that right, and then the option either expires, gets renewed, or the producer sells the script.
Okay, but you get to keep the money?
Yes.
Okay.
So I had optioned one, and I had sold one that was made into a movie, which I'm sure we'll talk about at another time, called
Okay.
Abracadabra, that was shot in Boston. Small independent film
Okay.
with John Fiore from The Sopranos. And so, you know, I'd been in the business a while when I decided to shoot this myself. I
Okay.
wasn't happy with Abracadabra. I didn't like the way things worked out on my film.
Okay.
I didn't get to produce it. I was the writer. I had a small role in it, and I watched other people take essentially my baby and do things to it that I didn't really like. So I said I'd never let that happen again
Okay.
unless somebody paid me a decent amount of money for the script.
Okay.
So I decided to do this.
All right, and that's why you sometimes see writer-producer. I mean, somebody will take 2 or 3 hats because then they have more control.
Definitely, at least director. I mean, I've taken a lot of hats only because of money. We're
Okay.
running this budget pretty tightly, so I've taken the role of producer,
Okay.
director, writer, and craft service. My wife, she's incredible. She's an actress,
Okay.
and she's taken the ball and just done everything from acting to making the meals and all points in between. And I've taken a lot. We've all taken on different roles. It's
Okay.
independent filmmaking, and we don't have the luxury of saying, I can't do that, or I won't
Okay.
do that.
And is this pretty much the norm in independent filming? I know we hear some stories where somebody does the whole film on their American Express card and it's a $5,000 total expenditure. I mean, is that really what most independent filmmaking is like?
The world of independent filmmaking could be a series.
Okay.
Independent filmmaking has changed dramatically. The days of those kind of stories are essentially somewhat over, and I'll qualify that by saying with digital it's starting to come back. But
Okay.
you're talking independent filmmaking now. If you start reading about it, it could be considered 40 million and below for low budget. So the spectrum is incredibly wide. What
Right.
we're doing is true, I think, true independent filmmaking. It's in the spirit of the 60s where you can go out and for
Right.
short money, given the right conditions, make a film. And with
Okay.
digital, it's a brand new world. The question
Okay.
is, where do you go with the digital? You know, what's the distribution? There are aspects, but I think anybody who's got some talent and desire can be a filmmaker today.
Okay. And there must be a larger network or a growing network of all of you who know each other and help each other out, and you can call somebody and say, you know, I need somebody who's great with animals or somebody who knows Tibet or something like that. And you can all, I mean, you start to create your own community of the true independents.
Oh, absolutely, because I keep thinking misery loves company, but there's a group, you call on a lot of favors too.
Yeah.
One, with actors, they've got to like the material.
Okay.
They're not going to, even Friends, and our lead actor, Joe Geronda, is an LA actor.
Okay.
They're not going to do a movie where the material stinks. So you've got to have the material. Then you can you try to call in a lot of favors. And for instance, in Easton, we worked with some local business owners, Sal's Trattoria, I'm sorry, Mario's Trattoria.
Yep.
And then we worked with Hemisphere.
Sure.
And the guys that don't know, the brothers are great guys,
Oh, yeah.
Mario and Sal. And, you know, they were just really incredible about giving us locations. And those are the kind of things that I just can't emphasize enough.
Yeah.
I did all my own location scouting.
Okay.
And that's something where if you're outside the mainstream, you're not using real location scouts, you're not using casting people, you
Okay.
got a lot of work to do.
Right.
And we
Now-
ran into good people.
I see. Now, is all that stuff like unionized or that? I mean, when you go to the large budget stuff and somebody's going around to, like I say, scout locations or the craft services or whatever, you know, are you breaking any rules or anything when you just do it yourself because it's your own production?
No, we're a SAG,
Right.
Stage Actors Guild shoot. We're
Okay.
under ultra low budget, which is in July SAG changed their contract, which made it much more user friendly for small producers like
Okay.
myself. Under the ultra low budget contract, I have to meet certain guidelines. I have to have workman's comp. I have to have insurance. I have to pay their pension fund, pay the actors. There's plenty of guidelines, and it is an administrative burden.
Yeah.
But you know, to get union actors. You need, I mean, the union does generally produce the best actors.
Okay.
They're experienced, although the non-union actors are great in this film too.
Okay.
So I'm not saying that you have to have union actors, but in this case we wanted to use several because of their talent,
Okay.
my wife included. So that's a little bit of an administrative burden. The other things, like if you want to work within the mainstream, if you have the money to pay casting agents, if you have the money to pay location scouts, well, that's great. You know, I'd love to have the budget to have other people do that, because you can't bite off more than you can chew.
Okay.
But I didn't have that luxury, so I ended up doing a lot of it, all the location scouting. And we're not breaking any rules, but it's a tough thing to do.
Right. Now, I know this is not your first project. Did you ever envision it was going to be this much work? The more control you have, the more directives that you make. Do you ever realize it's going to be like a 26-hour-a-day job, practically?
I knew from the last movie
Yeah.
we shot, which was a much bigger budget,
Okay.
but I was on the set every day just about, that it was going to be rough. It's really, and I don't want to be melodramatic,
Right.
it's the closest thing to combat I've ever seen, and I've been in 2 wars, so I don't joke when I say physically and mentally it's the most stressful thing you can do other than combat, and I include airline flying in that.
Oh, okay.
But I still underestimated. I took a lot of roles, and then I used a lot of good people. I've got some incredible production people, but I wouldn't do it this way again. I'd make sure that I divvy up the time, because I was in a foul mood sometimes, and you know, that had to do with either lack of sleep or thinking about 7 different things at once, and it's really not a good way to go. But
Certainly
it's been interesting.
understandable.
It's been interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't change what I'm doing now, because I'm learning a lot of things.
Right. And now the progress, it's a work in progress right now. You're basically, as we were talking a little bit beforehand, you're working with dailies and putting together some rough shots. Can you explain some of that, what you're going through right now in terms of the film process?
Well, first of all, we're shooting high definition, which is, and I'd like to say beforehand, I am working on my master's at Emerson, but I'm a writer primarily, and I'm learning a lot at Emerson about the technical end, so I'm going to try not to pretend to be an expert, but we're shooting high definition, which comes with a whole you know, bag full of problems in itself. So we wanted to be kind of on the cutting edge of high def. My partner owns Cambridge Video. He brought all the equipment.
Okay.
So, you know, the whole thing is, once we started this process, pre-production, I learned in the last film that pre-production is everything. It's like life, whether it's sports or anything else. If you don't plan, you will fail, unless you're extremely lucky. So we did plan. I did all the storyboards. We storyboard things, we talk about lighting issues, we go to locations and see where the plugs are. And so we've been really good at pre-production, and it's been paying off in the end. Then when you get to the set, you're not spending a lot of time, for instance, lighting. If you're lighting the set and not tweaking it, but lighting it for the first time when the actors are there, you've got a big problem. You're going to be behind. So we tried, I learned making the other film, and I learned from working with Fritz Maines, who, as I said, was Clint Eastwood's partner at Malpaso. He taught me a lot about filmmaking. And I took those lessons, and what it really boils down to is, the more you do prior to the shoot date, the better the shoot's going to be, because you can concentrate on the talent and the acting. The less you do, the more trouble you're going to have. So that was the biggest lesson. And still you have trouble.
I can imagine. And so now have you completed the shooting, or you've completed the main part of the shooting, and now you're going to go back and do some follow-up stuff?
We've taken 10 days of shooting, and in 10 days of shooting, we shot anywhere from maybe 4, 6 to 10-hour days. We probably put together 15 minutes of film.
Wow.
So I love to do a lot of coverage, meaning if we get a 2-shot like this, a master shot, over-the-shoulder shot, different angles. I didn't know what coverage was when I first saw Abracadabra being made, the first movie. No idea what coverage was. And then I started to learn that if you don't have the coverage, you can't edit. And there's nothing to edit from. You have a master shot, maybe an over-the-shoulder shot. So what I became watching that movie was a fanatic for coverage. And so what I like to do is get as many shots as possible for editing, and consequently that slows us down a little bit.
Right.
We're getting much more efficient, and we don't want to overshoot, but so we do a lot of coverage. I think in the next 10 days, though, we're going to really get more efficient. This was a shakedown cruise for the whole crew. I've never directed anything but a short before, a couple of shorts. Carl, the DP, has done extensive work as the owner of Cambridge Video, but this is his first feature. So we decided, you know, let's do a shakedown cruise. Let's see how we work this out, how we work together with the actors, what problems are going to surface, and it went incredibly well for us the first 10 days.
Wow.
So,
like you said, that is incredible, but it just sounds so exciting, and putting all these pieces together, and you're compiling a bunch of elements, and now you turn around and evaluate, figure out a few things you need to tweak a little bit. Now you're going to go back for another 10 days of shooting.
Right. We'll do 10 and 10, probably be a total of 30 days of shooting, depending how efficient we are. And it is about tweaking. We looked at lighting issues. We looked at makeup issues with high definition because the resolution's so good. Sound issues. You know, we're trying to shoot every scene like its own movie. I think that's the best way for us to look at it, that every scene is an individual movie. It's just like when you fly a flight as an airline pilot. You can't say, gee, I had a great flight yesterday, so I don't have to work so hard today because I flew a great one yesterday. That's a good way, you know, to have a big problem. So I took that lesson and applied it to the film. And you know, if we don't think about, gee, I hope this is going to sell, and I hope we make a fortune, and I hope this is good, if we concentrate on every scene to make it the best we can, given the limitations, whether it's a location that's going to expire or something like that, then we're going to have a decent film. So
it does make sense. Now, do you tend to shoot chronologically through the film?
No, not at all.
You have to
do
it all. I mean, that's the part that always boggles my mind, is that you can do it, you know, piecemeal. I mean, out of sequence, basically. But you have to, I guess, when you're working with exteriors and, I don't know, you know, actors' haircuts and all those kinds of things, you have to get in the right time sequence.
Well, right now that's a big. Most movies shoot out of sequence, so that's not that unusual. But it is a big problem with continuity, and it's also a problem with the arc of the character, the development, because in this particular movie, the main character is a pilot. At the beginning, I describe it as the movie is in terms of light, dark, light. You know, he's living the good life, then he's in a really bad way, and then there's this happy ending. But to keep that actor, to keep that arc where you want it, where emotionally he's here 1 minute, and then the next minute he's in a totally opposite place, 180 degrees out of phase with where he was just shooting that scene a couple of hours ago. That's a tough thing, and I talk a lot with the actor, Joe, about that, because he gets so into character. That's the mark of a professional, but that's very difficult for him. And then it's the hair issues, it's the beard issue, the makeup. How do we make him look like he, you know, we had to really schedule his shaving. Because, you know, when is he going to have longer growth? When is he going to have less growth? Continuity issues. You know, we don't have 3 people looking to make sure the window's open or that the plants are in the exact spot. So we've been real good with that. But those are issues that will bite you, you know, if you're not careful. And even if you are.
How glaring is it when, you know, one scene it's the red shirt and the next scene it's the green shirt? Or, I mean, I know those kinds of things get caught, but sometimes it's very frustrating as a viewer to all of a sudden something just gets in, you know, you're watching and you're expecting certain stuff, and then something just doesn't sit right. And it could be a continuity issue, and it's, you know, you're so familiar with the project. You've seen these scenes over and over and over. You've been, you know, playing with them and running them through the machines. So sometimes something can be missed. And it's got to be very frustrating when you've gone, oh God, I just caught that, and it's gone past me 6 times before.
Oh, it is. And my wife's got a great technical eye, incredible technical eye. She picks things up. We have other people with great technical eyes on the set. I'll pick up an occasional problem. We've been really good about that. We take pictures right away, put it on the computer, digital pictures, and so we can always refer. So I think our clothing issue's been great. There's some other issues that I won't tell you because if we go in that direction, we'll let the viewer pick them out. But very few so far. And so we've been lucky. And the coverage, to get back to the coverage issue, if you get a lot of coverage and shoot from different angles and different shots, you can fix that. You can say, well, this is in the shot, but we have it from an over the shoulder, or you know, we have a more narrow shot of that.
So you basically the time shooting in total, about 25% of what you shoot is going to be usable stuff.
I can't give you that exact figure.
Okay.
I would say that, well, just look at it this way: 10 days,
10 days, 15
minutes, and we
More
can
than less than
probably
that.
get more efficient than that.
Yeah.
So in the next 10-day period, I'd like to get over half the film done,
Okay.
maybe 3/4 of the film done. But it's anybody's guess because it just depends on a lot of things. I mean, we
Right.
push people pretty hard too.
Sure.
And you know, if an actor's burned out or he's just not hacking it because of certain issues, it'd be better to wait. So
Right.
we're still kind of tweaking it. We're still trying to figure out how much
Okay.
we can shoot, how much we can get.
Right. Now, are you shooting locally? Are there studios here, you know, inside studios that you can be shooting at?
We're not really using studios.
Okay.
Cambridge Video, Carl's company, is we have a nice facility there in Cambridge.
Okay.
And then we have, let's see, what else have we got? We shoot in Easton, we shoot in Cambridge, we shoot in Boston, and basically we're using private property.
Okay.
So.
So that's good. It's nice. Like you said, it's local, homegrown.
Oh, it's definitely local,
Right.
homegrown, and we've used a hotel, we've used a private office building, a couple of them. We've used restaurants and used a lot of local people, like at Hemisphere
Okay.
and Mario's here in
Nice.
Easton, the two restaurants. We
Right.
used locals. We used both, local people as hostesses, as waitresses.
Okay.
Used Mario in the film.
Oh.
He had a speaking role
Okay.
at Hemisphere. Sal wanted to watch from Mario's
Right.
Trattoria. He wanted to watch more of the production end.
Okay.
So he wasn't in the movie.
Okay.
But so we're using a lot of local people.
That's
Kind of
great.
like you
Right.
want to be a waitress, and some people are real hams and others aren't.
Sure. Oh, well, that is, it's a lot of fun to be, I think, on the ground floor of something that you never know where this is going to go. So when you feel you're finished with the body of work, what becomes the next step?
Hopefully a check.
Okay. Just like that?
Yeah, well, I wish it was that easy.
Right.
We're going to take it to film festivals. We're going
Okay.
to shoot for the top ones. We're going to
And those
market
are?
it. You know, I mean, I'd love to go to Cannes. I'd
Right.
love to go to Sundance. I mean, Toronto. You shoot for the top film festivals
Okay.
because that's where you're going to get your, most bang for the buck.
Now, how do you get a film in one of those film festivals?
You apply. The process, I didn't do the application process for Abracadabra, but it was
Okay.
in a couple of film festivals. It's just an application process. It's networking too. It's who you know in this business.
Okay.
And somebody gets a little buzz, hey, that's a nice little film they're making. We want to take a look at it. So that process will be totally the distribution process. Where do we go to sell this? What markets is it foreign? Is it video? Is there any chance of a feature? Is it
Okay.
going to be artistically accepted but not commercially? Which in itself we'd like to make money on this film. That's why
Okay.
we're part of the reason we're in this business. But if we get artistic accolades for the film, even though it might not do well in a box office or get distribution,
Right.
as a writer, filmmaker, if somebody said, boy, that's a great little film that unfortunately, they didn't market, that's going to
Okay.
that's good. That's a
Okay.
good thing too.
Because you hear stories through the years of things that have come up from nowhere, Blair Witch, Sideways, all those kinds of things that are just from nowhere. But again, there was a buzz that somebody created. Somebody saw it, thought it was cute, different, innovative, whatever, and it moved up through the ranks. So that's basically how,
Right.
and you'll be applying to all of those.
We're going to apply to, I'm not sure, I'm still researching,
Okay.
Whether you do the shotgun approach or the rifle approach, whether you
Right.
scatter everything or you just pick specific festivals based on your genre and what
Okay.
people think about the film and
Does it
where it
cost to
should go.
apply?
Oh yeah, nothing, the one thing you find out in this business, it's going to cost you a lot more than you plan on. So, because nothing's cheap.
Okay.
So that's the key to an independent filmmaker too.
Okay.
Especially young people who are coming up to do this. Try to keep it as cheap as possible,
Right.
and be ruthlessly thrifty with everything because
Okay.
the cost can expand unbelievably. And next thing you know, you're broke or you don't have enough money to finish the project.
Okay. So, I mean, this is completely fascinating, and I want you to promise that you're going to come back when you and Spielberg are having breakfast
That would be nice.
wherever, and you can tell us about it afterwards, because these are the kinds of things that people get excited about. It's a little bit different. You know, it has certainly a passion, a you are there approach to it, because it's like you said, semi-autobiographical, but it's definitely human angst that everybody loves to see in films. And it's a great story. It sounds like it's a great story.
It is. I mean, I have no doubt about the script and the story.
Okay.
I mean, that's not an issue. It is really a funny, good, solid story.
See that?
You know, how we portray it on the screen.
Right.
I think if we do it justice, I think we're going to have a winner.
Right. Well, and as you said, that the technology is such that a lot more can be done, you know, digitally, and I mean, I'm sure it saves a lot of time compared to the cutting room floor stories of editing and mixing and all that kind of stuff. A lot more can be done faster, I suppose, and I suppose it's got to be less expensive, though you've still got to own the equipment.
Yeah, digital is, I mean, compared to film, is ridiculously
Right.
cheap. But the equipment, of
Okay.
course, my partner brought the equipment. That's another factor. We're doing high def. If you were going to just do mini DV, you could go out and spend a couple $1,000 on a camera and equipment. Or high definition, you're getting into a whole different role. But you can do cheap filmmaking on mini DV. Go out and buy yourself a $2,000 camera or less,
Right.
and make film.
I.e. the Blair Witch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So, well, Joe, I want to thank you very much
You're welcome.
for coming and joining us. We're going to end our show, I think, we have some stills that you've brought with you, and I think we've been showing the audience some as we've been talking, which has been kind of nice. And to me, it's very exciting, because it feels like this is the pre-movie trailer phase, so that we're actually getting in before the trailers go to the Randolph cinemas or whatever. So
this will be a part of it. If it's successful commercially, it'll be interesting, because this will be the first spot it'll be seen, and if it's artistically, you know, successful, it'll be great too. So I hope it's one of those two, or both.
Well, listen, on behalf of the Hockomock Film Festival, I want to congratulate you and wish you much. You know, you'll have our support. And we'll be there at all of the film festivals with our signs tooting your film. But I want to thank you very much, and I want to thank everybody at home for tuning in and sharing with us our local filmmaker, Joe Conforti, who's film in production, Out of Alignment, semi-autobiographical, and surely
Highly embellished, though.
Highly embellished, okay. Surely will turn some heads when it does go to the top of Toronto Film Festival, and Robert Redford is shaking your hand at Sundance and that kind of stuff. And then we'll see you, you know, at the Dorothy Chandler, no, not the Dorothy Chandler, it's the Kodak Theater, winning the Oscars.
Boy, I hope that future you're mapping out is real.
I have it all planned out. I'm very good at that stuff.
Good. I hope your crystal ball is real accurate.
Well, thank you. Well, again, on behalf of the Hockomock Film Festival, I thank you. We do a lot of things for the filmmakers and film interested folks in town. We have a film jam, which is filmmakers get a chance to do their 5-minute quick films. We have our film club on Friday, every other Friday night at Andrew's Bakery. And we have this show that comes to everybody on Mondays and Tuesday nights. And I hope that everybody, you know, gets the bug, enjoys seeing their friends and neighbors on here. So I want to thank you. I think they're going to be showing some of your stills, so we'll go ahead and close the show.
Okay, thank you.
So.